awesome, blossom, fabulous, fantastic. This TV show is what Paul Kanan would call a hit! You okay there? Hi, how are you? I hope you're very, very well. For those of you who don't know me, by the way, my name is Amy. I make a lot of theatre content on YouTube, so whether it be about Glee or Star Kid or Broadway, anything really that's musical theatre related, I've probably talked about it on my channel, or I will do in the future. So if you like that kind of thing, then please do subscribe. It'd be nice to have you around. Let's just take a minute to talk about the most iconic TV show ever made, Legally Blonde: The Search for Elle Woods. We have to talk about this show. I remember I was a little teenager in high school and I got a VPN before I knew what VPNs were. Before they were being advertised on every big YouTuber's videos, a VPN was not too well known, but I managed to get one. And I was able to watch stuff on MTV, and by stuff, I mean Legally Blonde: The Search for Elle Woods. Whoa, I was obsessed. I was a little kid from the north in Blackpool. I'd never been to Broadway, I'd never been to New York, I'd never been to America, and there was a TV show which I loved at the time. I loved America's Next Top Model, I loved the Nancy programs and, you know, your reality TV. This was when the X Factor was semi-interesting. And then there was like an X Factor, but for Broadway. Honestly, high school Amy was shook and she was obsessed. A few years ago, the entire series was put on YouTube, so obviously I rewatched it. And then over lockdown, there was, you know, these millions of Zoom calls that are being put on YouTube that you just skip past. I saw a reunion of everyone from the TV show in a Zoom call. It was like 2.5 hours long. Obviously I watched the entire thing and I was like, I need to talk about this TV show. I presume that a lot of people probably won't watch it because it's 2.5 hours, but I learned some interesting stuff and I need to talk about it with somebody. I'm on my own in here in lockdown. No one else is going to talk to me, so I'm going to talk to you. Can you tell how excited I am to be talking about this? I watched the Zoom and then I rewatched the whole series in a day. You can only do that in lockdown, can't you? So in this video, I'm going to share my thoughts on the cast, on the process, on the challenges. Let's just talk about Legally Blonde. At the time, Legally Blonde was my favorite musical as well. Okay, so I rewatched the series and I wrote notes. Okay, so this came out in 2008. This TV show was like the first of its kind that was specifically like this. This was run by MTV at the same time that The Hills was on. The Hills was very dramatic. There was a lot of things that weren't even real in The Hills that they were making up to just cause drama. And so I think that they kind of wanted that for the show as well. When I restarted it the other day, it opens and it's so dramatic and you're like, already competing for a leading role in a Broadway show is like high intensity enough, and they're like throwing in all these extra bits to cause drama. I mean, it made for an iconic TV show, but like the girls said in the reunion, a lot of them, I don't want to say kind of regretted it, but you can tell that it wasn't a very good experience for them and wasn't very fun. I mean, for a lot of them, it gave them a great platform to get started in the business, but some of them, it made them, you know, realize that they don't want to do it. We'll get to that. Come on, it was just the best. It had Bailey Hanks, what an icon. I'm gonna be honest, Bailey was always my favorite, and I used to try and do my hair like Bailey's. She had this like super far over parting, and her hair was so big and long. I changed where my parting was and I would blow dry my hair upside down and like try and get some lift in it so my hair looked like Bailey's. It never did. She's now quit Broadway and she's a hairdresser. I think the biggest thing of the reunion that was such a shock to me was I didn't realise that Selena is in fact Lena Hall. How did I not know that? It's so funny because when I watched Sex and the City, she has the tiniest role and I was like, oh my god, it's Selena from Legally Blonde: The Search for Elle Woods. And I didn't realise it was Lena Hall. She just looks really different now. She's got dark hair. I mean, she's a damn Tony winner and she was on Legally Blonde: The Search for Elle Woods. How amazing is that? I think the funniest thing about the show is that when Hayley Duff comes on at the very beginning, she's like, none of you have been on Broadway before. And literally Emma Zacks and Lena Hall had both already been on Broadway. Lena Hall had been in Cats. Emma was in La Cage aux Folles. And here's the real thing. Emma Zacks was in La Cage aux Folles with Paul Kanan, who was one of the judges. Because I wasn't sure, so I actually found the playbill. Here is the playbill with their names together. Isn't that ridiculous? And Hayley Duff's like, none of you have ever been on Broadway, and it's like, yeah, they have. I just think it is so funny, like, how ridiculous. Lena Hall did say in the reunion, she was like, you know, they said that we were gonna have a Broadway mentor, and I was thinking, you know, Patti LuPone, Bernadette Peters, and it was Hayley Duff, who'd been in one Broadway show, and when you watch the TV show, they're like, and we've got Hayley here.
She'll be your mentor for the remainder of this competition.
And it shows Lena Hall's face, and she's like, it's so funny. Oh, I think it's great. It's very funny to me. I remember I loved Emma because she was blonde and really pretty, and 16-year-old me, that was all I cared about. And she was like, and my dad's won Tony Awards and my mum's been on Broadway. And I've also been on Broadway, but I'm not gonna say it. But she was saying that she was from this Broadway lifestyle, and I was like, oh my God, what a queen. In the reunion, she also said that she's known Bernie Telsey since she was like 8. She's grown up with him as a family friend, and he's there like tearing her apart on a TV show and being really, really mean. And she said at the time, she was like, this is so messed up. I don't know, she seems like a great gal. She's very funny. She very much just tells it as it is, you know? She's one of the people who now has stopped performing, and she was like, performing didn't give me any joy. Now I'm a Soul Cycle teacher and I'm living my best life, and I'm like, yes, absolutely. I think the thing with the show is that it was really ridiculous in a lot of ways. So much of it was just not how it really is in the business auditioning. I've never auditioned for a Broadway show, but I have auditioned for West End shows, and you know, it's nothing like how it's shown in Legally Blonde, The Search for Elle Woods. But it definitely had the integrity, having Bernie Telsey as a judge and Heather Hawk, and you know, they had Seth Rudetsky on there, and it definitely gave the show kind of an integrity that, you know, if they'd have had like celebrity judges and stuff, I don't think people would have taken to it as well as they did, and why people love it so much now. But when you look back at it, it's like, you're all just acting, because this is not how it is. Something I thought was so interesting about the first episode, the one where they've got like 50 girls or something doing a dance, and they're all in pink. They were saying that the girls who were in kind of the final 20 or final 15, they actually had already gone through psych tests and they knew that they were getting through to that point. Whereas some people went along to that audition that day not knowing that they were never going to make it onto the show. So that's not very fair, is it? Seth Rudetsky, can you remember when he was on? He was so sassy. Do you remember the moment when he says to Bailey,
you know, none of the judges wanted you to come back this week.
and then she's like,
just kidding. But that's
oh
the.
my God.
But that's.
I love Seth Rudetsky as well when that girl keeps singing.
Can't wear something I got on sale.
Bought.
Okay.
Can't wear something.
I got bought on sale.
He's like flinching, he's so dramatic. I love Seth Rudetsky. I just think it's amazing. Do you remember Cassie? Awesome, blossom, fabulous, fantastic. It was really interesting because in the Zoom, they were all discussing kind of social media around the time. And social media was definitely not what it is now. And I don't think people realized how now you can say stuff on the internet, no matter who it is, even super famous people, there's a very big chance that they will see that. I think back like 12 years ago, I don't think people realized how connected the internet was, if that makes sense. I don't think they realized that what they said would potentially be seen by the people it was about. And they were saying how bad the social media bullying and trolling was at the time. But Cassie also said that after the show she was like spat on in the street and stuff, and people were horrible to her, which is just ridiculous. It's like, at the end of the day, this is a TV show. It's interesting because watching it back with that, because they were like, oh, you know, they made her look really bad. And the thing is that she did say some stuff that you think, oh, that's not very nice. However, this is a 19-year-old girl who is being told by TV producers, come on, we need some drama. So she's gonna say what she thinks they wanna hear. Do you know what I mean? She's clearly a very driven, passionate person. I think that basically they could see somebody who was quite young, quite impressionable, very much wanting to do anything to get ahead, and kind of exploiting that and making her say things that possibly weren't how they seemed. And she seems like a nice person, and that's the worry with reality TV shows and things, isn't it? You never know how the editing is gonna come out. Like, apparently there was a whole argument between two girls that was just completely edited in, like that wasn't true at all, which I think is just fascinating. Oh my god, I didn't realise that they were in the Hotel Empire, which is the hotel that Chuck owns in Gossip Girl. So back in the day, obviously I have realised in the years, but I always thought that the Empire from Gossip Girl was a made-up hotel, but it wasn't. And they were there in Legally Blonde. Isn't that cool? I don't know. I like stuff like that. It's funny because sometimes throughout the TV show, sometimes the girls call it the loft, the apartment, the house. And actually, it turns out that their like PB teen apartment in the hotel was in fact like a function room that you would have like weddings and stuff in. And they made this apartment for them because you can see at one point there's literally a bar in the background. And I think at first glance you would think, oh, that's the kitchen, but it's literally a bar. I don't know. I think it's funny. Okay, something I realized on the rewatch of this show is that these girls cannot stand in a line. It's ridiculous. Girls, you come in, there's literally a line on the floor for you. Why can you not stand in a line, ladies? Right, let's just have one quick moment to talk about the fashion. I know I don't have any room to talk. I'm currently wearing an oversized maxi dress like a 50-year-old lady on holiday, but let's just talk about the fashion. Nikki Snelson wearing 3 belts. What? The amount of leg warmers in this show blew my mind. Bailey in the first audition in her leg warmers. Selena in the audition with her leg warmers. But the leg warmers that really took the cake for me was Emma Zacks wearing jeans and leg warmers. I mean, for real though, Nikki Snelson in those 3 belts, I couldn't get over it. Rewatching the dropping a line scene was so cringe as well. The thing is that Lena said in the reunion, she was like, the thing is, if you're in an audition and the other person drops a line, you're like, oh, you've dropped a line, like, it's an audition. It's not a final performance. And they very much made it like, this is a final performance. You need to be show ready. And it's like, that's not really how auditions go. The cycling, do you remember the cycling challenge? Where they had to sit on cycling bikes and sing What You Want. And apparently that went on for like 7 hours. Like they weren't eating. They were all like looking at the camera to like ruin the shot so that they could have a rest and they could have some food and stuff. It's so bad. I can't even imagine. I get on a cycling bike, I can last for maybe 2.5 minutes. You'd have had to have called the Undertaker. Something that's really interesting as well is Cassie sang a line from What You Want and everyone's skating like, oh my god, and it's like, ooh, that was such a mess.
What you want, now you said what you want, now you get what you want is right in front of you, front of you.
As though she was singing the wrong line, but apparently she was singing a harmony line that she'd been told to sing, and they made it out like she couldn't sing and she didn't know the tune, which is so mean and so cringe. At the time, because I was still in high school, when I was watching it, I wasn't aware of their ages. You look at some of the girls and they're like 18, 19, 20, and it's like, come on, this is such a stressful experience, and I felt really sorry for them. Oh god, you know when they were singing Oh My God, You Guys for ages, I was so stressed for their voices. Like this show, there was so much belting. I know that Emma got bronchitis throughout the show because she'd stopped smoking just before, but I'm like, how did these girls not lose their voices? Because they don't all have the support or training there. You can hear that they don't all have the support in their voices when they're singing on their own, and they're all just full out belting Oh My God, You Guys for ages. Girls, I don't even know how you're keeping this up, because that is so dangerous to your voice to be belting for that long, that strong. Like, Let's talk about another challenge. Do you remember dancing in the pink heels on the cobblestones in Brooklyn in like the freezing cold? And they were like, I can barely stand up, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna have to dance in those now as well. In what Broadway audition does anybody ever have to dance outside on the cobblestones? And Emma has freaking bronchitis, and you're like, I know that you're really sick and you've got an infection, but can you just go and dance outside for hours? Thanks. That's just plain old negligence. She could have got really, really seriously sick. Like, So bad. So good, such great TV. Lena, Selena, obviously now her name's Lena, then her name was Selena. She was never my favourite because she just wasn't Elle, and I think anybody would be able to see that. She wasn't suited to Elle, but she'd have been a banging Vivian, just saying. But there was a point where they were doing, oh my god, you guys, and she was in the shop.
Almost there.
And they were like, oh, that's very sexual. But in positive, you know, in the everybody time to shake your junk, Elle comes to the front, she goes right at the front of the stage, and they're like, oh, Selena, Elle Woods would never do that. And it's like, she literally does that in the choreography of the show. Oh my god, do you remember when they dyed Autumn's hair? I mean, that wasn't nice. They dyed her hair, and so she was talking about it on the reunion, and she was like, they had to dye it like 3 times and like keep stripping it back to get her colour out. And it's like, that is so mean. She had a wig in the final audition anyway, so why did they need to dye her hair? Oh, it was such like a, we're on a reality TV show, we're gonna dye her hair moment. Oh, I felt really sorry for her. I mean, what an iconic TV show. I mean, the fact that the ending was them doing like full routines with the full cast and full orchestra and stuff, like that's it, that's so cool. Like, even if you didn't win, you'd be like, guys, but look what I get to do. Like, that would be so much fun. I thought that was really cool. I think it's so sad. Bailey obviously ended up winning, and then Autumn also went into the show. She was an understudy for Elle and Margot, and she was one of the sorority girls. They went into the show in July, and then it closed by October, so they got to do like August, September, maybe 3 months in the show. Can you imagine working all that time doing that whole TV show to then only get to be Elle Woods for 3 months? I'd be fuming. Fuming. What a great TV show. And rewatching it, I loved all the girls. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think they were great. I think it's so interesting to see what happened to them all. A lot of them ended up on Broadway or TV stuff. I think it's so interesting that the person who won the show is the one who's probably like the most out of theatre now. She's a hairdresser. I love that. Do you know what I mean? Live your best. Anyway, that's my video. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are all staying well, looking after yourselves and your loved ones, and I will see you soon. Bye!